Well, hi, and welcome to this virtual training session. My name is Val Majewski. I'm Vice President of American Benefits Exchange, National Corporate Partner with the NCSSMA. And I'm going to say this at the beginning of all of our videos. If you have not yet checked out the first video, which is Who is American Benefits Exchange, I encourage you to do so you can understand exactly who we are and why it is we do what we do. But today we're going to be talking about your federal employee retirement systems. And as I say in all the trainings, this is very informal. So if you catch me looking at my computer screen as we're going through the presentation, just looking at the slides, making sure I'm conveying the proper information to you, uh, please. And if you have a pad and paper handy, take some notes, write down your questions, concerns. I'm going to put my contact info at the end. Be happy to talk to you and answer any questions that you may have. So without further ado, I appreciate you joining me to watch this video, and we're going to dive right in. So we're going to talk again, as I mentioned, the federal employee retirement systems. We're going to be going over CSRS, CSRS offset, FERS, FERS RAE, and FERS FRAE. Now I'm going to be going into a little bit of detail, but I'm going to paint with broader strokes here. It's going to be general in nature. Your particular situation may have a few more twists and turns built in. There's things that we may need to look at when it comes to your individual situation. So that's why I said, bring a pad and paper, write some things down. I'd be happy to talk with you and do a personal benefits and retirement review, go over your personal situation with you so we can dive in and find out all the finer details about your specific unique situation. Let's start with CSRS. So anything that you see that's color coded in yellow, that's going to pertain to CSRS. If you are not a CSRS employee, please feel free to fast forward into this until we get to the FERS section. Or if you want to learn about the CSRS system, the older system that came before FERS, feel free, view this section as well. But just letting you know that if you're not CSRS and you want to skip ahead, please feel free to do so. So CSRS employees, these are employees that were hired prior to 1984. They do not participate in Social Security. They contribute 7% towards retirement. So we're going to go into the details of, again, what the system is, how much you contribute, and how to calculate the projected pension once you're ready to retire. They are eligible to contribute to TSP, but do not receive any matching. Obviously, prior to 1984 is when they got hired. TSP did not come out until the Retirement System Act of 1986. So it wasn't yet around when CSRS employees were there. They were solely reliant on their pension when it comes to retirement income. Now, there's something called a CSRS offset. These are for people that were originally hired as a CSRS employee. They worked at least 5 years and then left the federal government and then came back and had the option to either join the new system FERS or go back into the CSRS system. If they did back into the CSRS system, they were considered offset. Retirement benefits are calculated the same as I'm going to show here, but CSRS offset employees participate in Social Security, so they're going to get a little bit from Social Security and some from the CSRS system. The CSRS benefits are offset by the amount of Social Security benefits that they're going to receive. Now, employees that did not have 5 years of service when they came back, or when they originally left CSRS, they came back and just joined the FERS system. Now, returning CSRS employees that had the option to be CSRS offset could have elected or voluntarily elected FERS. They had to do that within the first 6 months of rehiring. Now let's look at retirement, because this is where I get the most questions. How can I calculate my retirement? What do I expect in retirement? How does this work? Well, in the old system, you had to be eligible in one of these three categories. You had to satisfy one of these three things in order to retire with full benefits as a CSRS employee. First, be age 55 with at least 30 years of service, age 60 with at least 20 years of service, or be age 62 with at least 5 years of service. Pretty simple, right? It was easy. Just satisfy one of those three things, you can retire with full benefits. Now, how do they calculate their pension? Pretty simple there as well. You take the high three, which is the average of the highest 3 consecutive years of total base pay, Okay, it's the same for both systems. It doesn't matter if it's your first 3 years, your middle 3 years, or your last 3 years. They're going to take the highest 3 consecutive years and the average of those 3 years and get your high three. Now, calculating this in the old system, we took the high three, took the years of service that they had, and multiplied that high three by a certain percentage. That gave their annual pension calculation. So you can see this chart here goes over the calculations. Now, you may also see that a CSRS employee can cap out at 80% if they hit at least 42 years of service as a federal employee. Pretty awesome. But again, they were solely reliant on their pension in retirement, not participating in Social Security and traditional CSRS. TSP was not available, even though they may have contributed to it. It was not an original source of retirement income for this system. Let's look at an example real quick. Joey Federal, let's say a high three, we're just going to keep the numbers round, was $100,000 was the high three, worked 37 years of service. 37 years of service based on the chart is 70.25% of their high three. So this particular employee would have walked away with $70,250 per year as a pension. Okay, walking away with 70.25%. Pretty simple calculations, pretty easy in the old system. Now, anything color coded in green is going to be for the FERS system. And this is the new and improved system, right? And I say that with a little bit of a chuckle, but this is the new system. Okay, traditional FERS employees are hired after 1983, but before 2013, automatically covered under Social Security. Prior to 2013, as I said, a traditional FERS employee, they pay 0.8%, 0.8% towards retirement. So remember, the old system, 7%. New system, 0.8, 0.8%. Where does that other 6.2 go? Or where does the other 6.2% get contributed to? And those of you working for the Social Security Administration know that goes towards Social Security. So still 7% is going towards some sort of deferred retirement or deferred benefit, but 0.8 towards the FERS system. Eligible for TSP and can get up to a 5% match. There's going to be a separate video on TSP, so be sure to check that out. Now, I said prior to 2013 was a traditional FERS employee. So in 2013 alone is what's called a FERS RAE, Revised Annuity Employee is what that stands for. And these folks are FERS employees, but they pay more towards the retirement system, 3.1%. So traditional FERS employees, 0.8, FERS RAE, 3.1. Now, even though they pay more towards retirement, they do not see a difference in the way their pension is calculated. And I'm going to get into that a couple slides from now. Now, what about employees hired after 2013? They're considered FRAE, which again, a little bit of a chuckle. Further Revised Annuity Employees is what that stands for. And again, these people are paying more. These employees are paying 4.4% towards retirement and do not see a difference in the way their pension is calculated. So traditional FERS employee of 2013 all the way back to January 1, 1984, 0.8%. New employees, 4.4% towards retirement. FERS retirement. So how are you eligible? Well, two of the situations are exactly the same as the old system. Be age 60 with at least 5 years of service and age 60 with at least 20 years of service, age 62 with at least 5. The last one, have 30 years of service and hit your minimum retirement age. What is your minimum retirement age? Well, that is based on this chart in accordance to your birth year. So anywhere between age 55 and 57, depending on which year you were born. Excuse me. So how do we calculate your retirement in the FERS system? Well, we start with the high three. And again, that is the highest consecutive 3 years, the average of those highest consecutive 3 years of total base pay plus locality plus any shift pay. It's important to note that your high three does not include bonuses, overtime, any sick leave or annual leave, things of that nature. It's basically total base pay plus locality. They're going to take your high 3 and multiply it by a factor of 1 or 1.1%. Now that depends on your age at retirement. So prior to age 62 is 1%. And if you're at least age 62 and have at least 20 years of service, they're going to use 1.1%, a little bit of a bump there. Take that number and multiply it by your years of service, and we will get your annual retirement annuity in the FERS system. So if you're doing some simple math here, it's approximately 1% per year of service of your high 3 is what you're going to get in retirement. But just remember, as a FERS employee, you've got a 3-part system, and we're going to go over that in just a second. So here's an example. Johnny Federal, Joey's younger brother, high 3 of 100,000. We're keeping the numbers easy. Age 65 at retirement, had 30 years of service at retirement. So we would take 100,000, multiply it by the factor of 1 or 1.1, since this person is at least age 62 and has at least 30 years, or sorry, at least 20 years of service with 30. We're using 1.1% times years of service, which is 30. This person would walk away with $33,000 a year in their pension annuity. Now you're saying, wow, that's a big difference. Okay, Joey Federal had $70,000 a year. Johnny's only getting 33. Well, again, there's 2 different parts that we're missing here. We're still going to account for Social Security and TSP. Now, you may have asked yourself, well, Val, you just said I get Social Security and TSP, but there are 2 criteria there where I can retire and I'm not yet Social Security eligible. So I can retire at my minimum retirement age with 30 years or age 60 with 20 years. I'm not yet eligible for Social Security. Well, at that point, you're going to be eligible for or entitled to the FERS retirement supplement. Now, what is this? It represents a bridge, basically. It's a number that's based on your age 62 Social Security benefit, and it will be paid to you from the time you retire until you're Social Security eligible at age 62. It's based upon your FERS service, and it continues until you're eligible. So if you're retired at your minimum retirement age, say age 57, you get paid the supplement from 57 to 62. It does not mean you need to take Social Security at age 62. It just means this free entitlement benefit will cease. It'll go away at age 62. Now, you may be eligible if you retire voluntarily. You retire with an immediate annuity based on one of those full benefits requirements, and the annuity is not reduced for age. You may still be eligible, okay, if you involuntarily retire due to a major reorganization or a reduction in force. There are certain criteria there where you can still be eligible for this benefit. Employees are not eligible for the FERS supplement if they receive a deferred benefit, so they're not taking an immediate annuity. There's a disability benefit because you'd be on Social Security disability, and they're receiving an immediate MRA plus 10 benefit. So there's a criteria in here for retirement that I did not mention earlier, where a federal employee can voluntarily retire early if they have at least 10 years of service and have hit their minimum retirement age. Now, this is not something we normally encourage, but it's something that's available to you. And the reason we don't encourage it is because there's a reduction, there's a penalty, basically of 5% for every year that you are under the age of 62, a reduction from your pension calculation. So if you retired at age 57 with 10 years of service, they calculate your pension based on that time frame. They would reduce it by 5% for every year under the age of 62. In this case, 25% reduction in benefits, and that's permanent. So that's something that we can discuss on the side. If you have any questions about that, again, write down my contact info at the end and we can cover that based on your situation. Okay, retirement dates. CSRS and FERS have different ideal retirement dates. I'm going to go over those real quick. In the old system, if you're part of CSRS, if you retire on the first, second, or third day of a month, your effective retirement date is the following day. And then your pension, your first annuity check, should be due the first of the month following that. So let's use an example. Let's say you're going to retire on January 3rd. Your effective retirement date would actually be January 4th, and your first pension check should be due to you on February 1st. Now, why is that important? Because you want to minimize the amount of time you go without a check. Minimize it. Now, the worst case scenario would be, say you retired on January 4th, If that were the case, it's not the first, second, or third day of the month. If you retired on January 4th through the end of the month, your effective retirement date would be on February 1st, with your first pension check due to you by March 1st. So that is a maximized amount of time you go without a paycheck. Not ideal. So again, we can discuss your personal situation and go over that offline. In the FERS system, it's pretty simple. If you retire any day of the month, your effective retirement date is the first of the following month, with your next paycheck or first retirement paycheck being due the first of the month after that. So essentially in both systems, you're going to be without a paycheck for at least 4 weeks or 1 month. So you need to plan for that and understand that you may go without, if you haven't planned properly, for at least 4 weeks to a month after you leave service. So I mentioned retirement income sources. Now in the CSRS system, there's pension, right? That's it, solely reliant on the pension. And if you work long enough, you can get up to 80% of your high three in retirement. Pretty awesome. But in the FERS system, it's a 3-part plan. There is FERS, there's Social Security, and there's TSP. Again, please check out the video on TSP to learn how that works if you're not familiar. Now, if you realize after adding all of these things up that this may not work for you, you may not have enough saved up, or if we do an estimate, because that's something that we will do for you, is go over your situation and provide an estimate, whether you're 30 years old and just got hired yesterday, or you're retiring within the next couple of months. We'll do an estimate, a projection, and make sure we're in the ballpark with what you thought you were going to get, and open your eyes to what that looks like. And if you're still lacking where you want to be, there's still time, and you can always set up a supplemental account if you do not have one already. And that way you can provide possibly a 4th income check for yourself in retirement, another way to save properly for your retirement. Because when we look at people and they want to get back to their pre-retirement income, most people say, I want to get back to what I was making, because you're comfortable living at the income that you currently have. I want to get back to the income level that I currently have now. Well, in retirement, I typically see federal employees at about 50 to 80% when it comes to pre-retirement income in retirement. More typically about 60% is the number that I see when we add up those 3 things: FERS, Social Security, TSP. Because just working 30 years or hitting one of those requirements does not mean you're going to automatically make the same amount. It's based on years of service and the high 3 that you had. So if you want to get to that 100% level or as close to it as possible, you need to properly plan. And it's beneficial to see where you currently stand, and how you're trending, so you know if you're planning properly, if any changes need to be made. So that's part of what we do and how we can help. So I mentioned supplemental retirement. I'm just going to bring all of these things up because if you realize you need to save more for retirement, these are questions that we would generally ask, or we'd have you ask yourself. Do you realize you need to save more for retirement? How much are you looking to save each pay period or each month? Or how much can you save? How long do you have until retirement? What is your time horizon for saving? What are your ultimate goals with these funds? Is it to create that rainy day account and have some savings, some cushion? Is it to provide additional income in retirement to supplement your pension, Social Security, and TSP? Do you have a risk tolerance for these funds? Do you like taking risk? I mean, these are questions you need to ask yourself so you know what it is that's going to be best for you when it comes to saving additional funds in retirement. And ideally, there's something out there for you, and you don't have to just put it under your mattress or bury it in your backyard. So what are the next steps? After listening to this video, if you've taken some notes, watching this video, and you realize that there's something that you need to do, well, we encourage you to get a benefits and retirement review. This is complimentary for all federal employees, but something we really want to do as a result of our partnership with NICSMA. And I say get a benefits review. This is either personal or to create a training for either your region of NCSSMA or maybe your office. You need somebody to come in and do a presentation for those that you work with as a manager, for the folks that are underneath you. We'd be happy to do that. Now, normally in other circumstances, we would be coming in personally face to face. If that's not an option, then we can do things virtually like this via webinar or recorded video. But call or email to schedule. Look, be sure to document your questions and reach out to us for answers to those questions, and expect a follow-up call. Trust me, if you reach out to us, we're going to be reaching out to you. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can reach me directly. This is my office phone number. Here's my direct email. You can also visit our website, www.thinkabx.com. And you can go on there, request a quote, request information, check out some more info that we have on there. But we'd be happy to talk with you and see how we can help on an individual or a group level. I appreciate you taking the time. Please view the other videos that are in this virtual series. And I look forward to seeing you on our next video.